I'm just saying, man, sometimes you're like, hey, I'm gonna make a garden today.
Right.
You just make shit up.
Build an entire baseball field in the backyard just to get out of the house.
Things change.
Yeah, this goes back to not being sure if I want a kid. Like, if it makes me want to do yard work, which I hate doing, that's a sign that I probably shouldn't have one.
Very weird. I enjoy yard work.
Nope.
Not weeding. Weeding blows.
Yeah. Any of that shit. That's why I ran.
Hey, good morning. Sorry for the delay. We had a little mix up on the back end, but we're here, and it is the Stochastic.com MLB Strategy Show. How did I end up here? I don't know, but here we are. Throwing me on for no NBA today. That's okay. I'm Dave Locker, by the way, at Lafayette_D, joined by Adam Scherer at Ship My Money DFS. Got to tell you, man, and happy to have you guys with us. Appreciate you being patient here as we come in hot at 11 o'clock in the morning. 8-game baseball slate. Dude, I don't think I've done an MLB show in 3 seasons now.
Yeah, I was going to ask if this was your first one of the year.
First one of the year? It's the first one, I think, in 3 years. Yeah, I've managed to finagle my way out of these.
How did you end up on this one?
Nolan asked me, he's like, hey, he's like, are you up to speed? I was like, I can be.
Right, yeah.
I can be.
Speaking of, you're welcome for covering yesterday's 15-game NBA show. It was a blast.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, I mean,
can't believe you missed it. It was so much fun.
I was pretty smart about that. 2 weeks out, I was like, hey, I would have taken off Easter anyway, because we had a brunch at my in-laws' house, but I saw the schedule. I was like, I'm definitely taking off. Was it
Yeah.
brutal?
Well, I remembered you mentioning it to me, and I was like, oh, it's a Sunday. I don't care. And then Nolan comes, hey, can you fill in for Lofty? Damn it.
What did you, how long was the show, first of all?
It was like an hour.
Right. Because what do you get to talk about?
No, like nothing. Me and Josh said it. Like, it's not that we're checked out. It's that we have like nothing to say.
Yeah. There's only so much. Plus, basically, you know what it was? It's basically just preseason football in the sense that like you're trying to guess what coaches are going to do and you have a good idea of what, like, it's all it is. It's not even stats anymore, because it gets to a point where if half the teams are just playing G leaguers, like Mac McClung almost had a triple double off the bench yesterday.
Right. And you had multiple teams. Like, I didn't play the slate, but I just saw like alerts while I was out, like multiple teams just starting different backups in the second half than the first half. And it's like, how do you do this?
Yeah, it's really difficult. But
yeah.
anyway.
Baseball's nice because they tell you who's going to play and then those guys play.
Yeah, they usually do. Exactly. But we got basketball tomorrow. We got play-ins, then we got the playoffs. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. Subscribe to the channel as well. Help us get to 100K. It's going to be a heck of a day when we get there. Leave a comment down below if you're watching it after the fact. And of course, if you're listening in podcast form, we know you're out there. We see you. We appreciate you. Subscribe to the pod. Leave a rating or review, all that good stuff. Tell your friends about the channel, podcast, whatever it is. All that stuff goes a long way. Ready to get into it? We got 8 games today.
Yeah. Nice 8 gamer.
Still, yeah, I cannot remember the last time I've done a baseball. You and I used to do baseball shows like every day, but been a while. Padres, Mets, 7.5 point total on this one. 7 point. You guys are going to have to bear with me here. When it comes to like center or catcher and all that stuff, 7.5 runs total. Padres, slight dogs, but you have Darvish and Scherzer going. 2K artists. Scherzer had a bit of a rough of a season to get this one kicked off, but looking just out of the gate at the top pitchers tool. By the way, we have all of this stuff updated for those of you guys that are looking to get in on it. One of the reasons we pushed the show, we wanted to have the tools to reference. Right now, Scherzer is popping up pretty much everywhere. He's popular, but he also has 23% top 2 percentage. So on DraftKings 2-pitcher format, 23% chance, highest on the slate, that he's going to be in the top 2 of pitchers today.
Yeah, my computer froze, so we're off to a really good start. I can't even see data, but yeah, I mean, clearly 2 very good pitchers, 2 guys that get a lot of strikeouts. Now I can see it. Scherzer at the top in terms of top 2 pitcher percentage. Darvish is 4th. You shouldn't read too much into Scherzer's poor outing to start the season. It's still Max Scherzer. There's no real reason you should be concerned about that. It is a tough matchup with the Padres. I mean, you can make the case that it's risky taking him just because you have such a loaded Padres lineup, but really good strikeout pitcher and reasonably priced. I think he's perfectly fine. Ownership's not too crazy, 27% on DraftKings, 23% chance of being top 2. So nothing, overly concerning there either.
Yeah, and I guess one thing too. I went over to Brooks Baseball. Was just curious, like you said. I didn't really take much away from that bad start, but it's not like velocity or really anything looks any different than it did last year.
Yeah, it's a bad start. Like, they happen. Even the best pitchers are going to have a couple of them a year. Just so happened that this was the first one, but
yeah. So not much you can do there. How much are you putting any stock into like team K rates early in the season, left versus lefty or righty? It's such a small sample, particularly against lefties this early in the year.
Yeah, it's a really small sample. I mean, you're better off just using like what guys have done in the past.
Yeah. All right. What about Darvish on the other side of this one? 2 ace pitchers dueling today, both of them with significant K upside. Is Darvish another guy that you're looking to get to? Especially too, price point $8,400. What's his ownership? 17.6%. So slight positive leverage in the top pitchers tool.
Yeah, I think he looks pretty good just based on his upside. He'll give up some home runs. He gives up some power, and it's not like it's a great matchup against the Mets, but at only $8,400, that's a pretty reasonable price point. 19% chance of being a top 2 pitcher is 4th highest on the slate, 18% ownership. So going a little bit under owned, like you said, and, does give you strikeout upside. Last year, he struck out 25.6% of hitters, walked less than 5%, 3.58 xFIP, 3.39 Sierra. Just, a solid enough pitcher with strikeout upside that is going a little bit under owned, I think.
Yeah, 14% K rate to start this. Is this his first? Is this his second or third start?
Second, I think.
Okay. So then that's a little bit, that doesn't mean a damn thing.
No.
Because I know he struggled to get any real swings and misses against the Diamondbacks last week. So again, yeah, how much do you really take away from? How long are you waiting though until we get, like, I want to see at least a few starts from all of these guys. A lot of times I'm less worried about the numbers on paper as much as I am like velocity or pitch movement or swings and misses and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, typically, like, before I start referencing somebody's year-to-date stats, it'll be like a month.
Mm-hmm.
But I am with you. Like, if you early in the season, so I mean, I used to like look at Brooks baseball all the time, and I don't anymore. But this is the time of year where I think you pay a little bit more attention to it. Like, that's a very quick way to try and gauge, like, okay, everybody's gonna have a bad start. You're not going to get strikeouts or you're going to get hit hard or whatever. It's more alarming if you look and it's like, oh, he's throwing 3 miles an hour slower than last year.
Exactly.
If he's throwing, if the velocity is the same, if the pitch movement is the same, you can be pretty comfortable just looking at, last year's data and being like, yeah, he's still this guy. It just was a bad start.
Last question, since we're setting this one up as the first MLB show I've done this year, only the second you've done, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Do you think the pitch clock affects any of these guys?
Not actionably.
Right.
I mean, it affects them in that it's easier to steal bases. So that's not great for pitchers. I'm also already convinced that they're back to the juice baseballs this year, which is not great for pitchers, but that's across the board. Like, I don't think that there's anything where you can that affects DFS. Anything you can do about it.
Yeah, right. Any interest in batters here? You've got these two teams literally looking at the top stack tool right now. You've got San Diego, 2% top stack percentage. That's second to lowest. And the Mets with a 1.9% top stack percentage, top stack probability. So they are dead last on this slate.
I'm surprised the Mets are behind the Padres and last. Like, I don't totally get it. They still have a 4 implied run total, which isn't like crazy low. Darvish does give up some power. It's not supposed to be warm in New York today. It's like 55 degrees, so that's not great. But some interest in the power bats from the Mets. They are really expensive though. So while I don't necessarily think they should be that, I don't necessarily agree that they're like the least likely top stack. I still don't think they're particularly good. And the Padres, I mean, you can always make a case for the Padres just because they're so talented, but going up against Scherzer is certainly not the spot that I'm looking to target.
Let's talk about Cincinnati and Atlanta. Cincy money line plus 165, 8.5 run total though. A lot of that going to the Atlanta side of this one. They have a 5.1 implied run total today. That's the 4th highest on the slate. And you're talking about behind the Cardinals and Rockies playing at Coors, behind the Angels going up against Patrick Corbin, who's just been he's just been batting practice for the past couple of years at this point. So Atlanta, definitely one of the highest implied run totals. Looking at the top stacks tool, where do we have them right now? Top stack percentage, 5%, not that high, despite, going up against Ashcraft with, wow. Okay. They one of the highest implied totals, middle of the road, top stack probability here. What do you make of them?
Yeah, I mean, Ashcraft is a pitcher that I think is actually going to be pretty decent. He throws hard, averages 97.5 miles an hour on his fastball, but that hasn't in the past translated to strikeouts. He gives up some power. Last year to righties, 201 ISO, 160 expected ISO. Lefties did basically nothing against him. Sub 100 actual ISO, sub 100 expected ISO. Typically, when you see reverse splits, you should expect them to sort of balance out. But he does throw a cutter as his primary pitch. That is something that can get in on the hands of lefties, whereas to righties, it's like moving towards the barrel. So if you throw good ones, if you're right-handed and you throw good cutters to righties, it's still tough to hit. It moves like a slider, but you run the risk of if it flattens out and stays on that same plane, then it's just running into the barrel of your bat. Whereas to lefties, even if it stays on the same plane, it's getting in on their hands. So that's probably why you didn't see much success from lefties, and you did see more success from righties against Ashcraft. And the Braves are one of these teams where you're always happy to get to them. They have a ton of power. They have a ton of speed. If you are playing the right-handed bats, had more success angle. You have Acuna, you have Riley, you have Sean Murphy as a high upside catcher option. And then the lefties here are so good that, you're not worried about, even if you believe in the reverse splits, which I don't necessarily think you should. Matt Olson, Ozzie Albies, clearly you're happy to get to those guys anyway. So nearly a 5 implied run total for the Braves. Kind of surprised that their top stack percentage isn't higher. They're not getting a ton of ownership either because they're expensive. So I do like them in tournaments.
Okay. Sean said Ashcraft's a ground ball pitcher. I mean, 50, well, let's see, the major 54%, 53.5% ground ball rate. Yeah. Not a ton of fly balls. I guess when you're looking at a spot like this, it's more so just like, is there leverage for an Atlanta team that does have the ability to go wild? But looking at, I don't know. I guess you're right. I guess there's not, maybe it makes sense why they are getting as little ownership as they are. Really, they're 5% ownership, 5% top stack probability. So they're essentially in line with where they should be. What about the pitchers here? Like, are you interested in either of these guys? Elder?
Not interested in Ashcraft. Tough spot against the Braves and not a great strikeout pitcher. Bryce Elder, you probably just don't really need the savings. It is a decent matchup for him, but I don't think he's that appealing. He is pulling 26% ownership, which I don't know, maybe you do need the savings. I'm surprised to see that. I think he's fine as a pay down option in this spot, but typically we haven't needed to pay down that far so far this season. Like, hitter pricing has been pretty soft.
All right. What about the bats on the Cincy side?
If Elder's going to get 26% ownership, I'm interested in the Reds. Limited sample for him last year. He did allow a 184 expected ISO to lefties, only a 14.5% strikeout percentage against lefties. Friedel, Fraley, Vossler all hitting from the left side. You have Will Benson, formerly of, I believe, Cleveland. So you have some left-handed power there. Tyler Stevenson's always a high upside option at catcher. Jonathan India is always a high upside second base option. So they are kind of an interesting team to stack just because two of their best hitters are at positions that are difficult to fill out. But it's purely, a tournament spot for me. They have a 3.6 implied run total. They're not overly appealing. We have them with a 6.8% chance of being top stack. So, again, I think our top stack stuff is just kind of messed up right now. I don't know how the Reds would have a higher top stack percentage than the Braves.
Yeah, seems unlikely for sure. The Cincy and Cubs game is kind of interesting. We can dig into this one a little bit. We have Luis Castillo with a very high top play probability, top 2 probability, 21%. Not far behind Max Scherzer. Leverage score, whatever, essentially 24% ownership, 21% top 2 probability. But, just looking at this guy, last year, 27% K rate. This year, through his first pair of starts, he's got a 30% strikeout rate. You do have a lot of upside in someone like him against this Cubs team. What do you make of Castillo today? Are you in agreement with this, with his ownership?
Yeah, I think he looks good. Price tag certainly reasonable. Very good strikeout pitcher, like you said. Very good pitcher in general. 3.23 xFIP, 3.35 Sierra last year, 3.07 FIP, 27% strikeout percentage. The guy is just really good. You're getting him outside of Seattle, which isn't the best. Like, you prefer he be pitching in Seattle, but it's not like Wrigley is Coors or anything like that. So it doesn't look like we have any crazy wind blowing out or anything. So yeah, happy to get to Castillo.
Man, that's great. Chicago Cubs versus righties this season. Of course, it's super early, only 224 plate appearances. 4th lowest K rate in the league.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, they should have some strikeouts in that lineup. Swanson K's a bit. Bellinger, we know, will strike out. Wisdom will K a bit. But, you have Eric Hosmer, who's not an easy strikeout guy. Mancini's not the easiest to strike out. Horner, I'm not sure, but I don't think he's easy to strike out.
Yeah, and also, for what it's worth, they have a 110 ISO against righties to start the year. It's not
that's not great.
No, what's their weighted on base average? Yeah, 320. So despite the fact that they're putting balls in play, they haven't exactly been dominant in any front. So, and also wind not really blowing anywhere in Chicago, 7 miles per hour left center. That doesn't really do a whole lot. Do you have any interest in Drew Smyly today?
I do not.
What about the bats?
Yeah, so Smiley's pulling 2% ownership. I don't really think there's much reason to get to him. He's not even that cheap at 7,800. I am interested in the Seattle bats. You have a 4.6, 4.7 implied run total here. Plenty of right-handed power with Rodriguez, France, Hernandez, Suarez. Cal Raleigh is always a high upside catcher option. Pollock from the right side has power. Tom Murphy gives you another high upside catcher option at a cheaper price tag than Raleigh if you can't afford him. So I do like getting to the bats against Smiley. He's a pitcher that can be frustrating to stack against at times because he doesn't have great stuff, but if he's locating well, he'll get a lot of infield pop-ups and just really frustrate you. But it's a small margin for error for him because, again, he doesn't have great stuff. 190 ISO to righties last year, 175 expected ISO. Certainly, plenty of power upside here for the Mariners.
Yeah. Also, this is also somebody that is not an extreme fly ball pitcher, but someone that when he's not hitting his spots, these balls are going in the air.
Right.
And that usually benefits you significantly.
Right. If he's locating well, you're getting pop-ups to shortstop. If he's missing his spots, you're getting moonshots to left field.
Yeah, exactly. How many home runs did he allow last year?
I do not know.
I'm looking it up right now. Just curious.
He allowed 1.35 home runs per 9. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah. Yeah, he allowed 16, but in 22 starts. Yeah. And today's conditions, it's not hot in Chicago. It's not a lot of wind. I don't know. I don't think it's the best spot to be stacking Seattle, but it's not the worst either. As you said, if he's not locating, things could get ugly quickly. Makes sense. Yeah. 6.8% top stack probability. Looking at the top stack tool, they have 10% owned though. One of the highest owned stacks on this. So maybe we can see if there are any good leverage spots as stacks as we go throughout this show, because we know that St. Louis is going to be popular. We know that the Angels are going to be pretty popular, expensive, but popular, really expensive as a matter of fact. And we know that Colorado, just given that it's at Coors Field, is going to be popular. Maybe there are some other spots to target. How do you usually play? This is kind of a difficult question to answer because it's entirely dependent on the slate, but you know how popular Coors Field is every time, especially when, it's got an 11.5 run total in that game today. Both teams were 5.5 implied total for the Rockies, 6.2 for the Cardinals. How willing are you to go severely underweight on those type of games and try and find those good leverage spots on a decent sized slate like this?
Yeah, in past seasons, it always felt like I was coming in aggressive on Coors, and it really didn't work out that much. So far this year, I've been coming in under the field typically, especially whichever the popular team is. Like today, we have the Cardinals projected for 20% ownership. I'm not saying that I won't end up with the Cardinals today. I have no idea. It's 11:20 in the morning, but the way that it's played out so far, in recent games, I wasn't really getting to the Nats in tournaments. I was getting more of the Rockies. And you kind of see the same thing today, 10% ownership coming to Colorado, 20% going to the Cardinals. That's sort of how I've been playing it so far this year. In the past, again, I was probably coming in a little bit too aggressive, just jamming Coors. But yeah, it creates a situation where, especially on a slate like today, you have two solid enough pitchers in the Coors game with Matz and Marquez. So I think it's fine to get to some of these lower owned teams.
Okay. Yeah, Marquez isn't just going to roll over in every start.
Right. It's kind of surprising the Cardinals have a 6.2 implied run total.
I thought the same thing. Yeah, pretty heavy favorites on the road as well. But let's keep it going. You talked about Seattle bats. Anything else you want to get to for Chicago bats against Castillo? Tough spot.
Yeah, nothing really there. I mean, Castillo's good at keeping the ball on the ground when he doesn't get strikeouts. He's just a tough pitcher to target against. 0.78 home runs per 9 last year. Just really, really good.
By the way, guys, for the almost 400 of you watching with us right now, all of the tools we're referring to, the top stacks tool, the top pitchers tool, these are the two preeminent tools you're going to get. For if you're playing daily fantasy baseball, you should have these in the tool belt. This is the last day to get $9 or 9 days for $9. So all of the MLB content that we have, it's $1 a day. So for 9 days, you're getting everything for MLB for $1 a day. $9 for 9 days. You're talking top stacks, top pitchers tool. And we've got not just DraftKings early, right? DraftKings night, afternoon, same with FanDuel and all that. The turbo slates, we've got the Yahoo one, you name it, for the pitchers tool, for the top stacks tool, player projections. Just look at this. I mean, ownership projections, obviously going to be super important. top batters, top pitchers, top stacks tool, MLB Slate Central, all of that stuff. The MLB lineup builder, you name it, top to bottom. Every single day is only $1. It's 9 days, $9. Today's the last day to take advantage of it. So if you're hearing about us discussing these tools and going, oh, I'd like to see what the top stack percentages are with the ownership, with the leverage, all of that stuff. Well, now you can. Today's the last day, but link is in the description, right? Just click the link. It'll take you right there to the promo. You don't have to type anything in. Link is in chat. Jordan put it in there. So yeah, if you've been on the fence, today's the last day to do it. $9 for 9 days, everything that we have for MLB. And it's no better time than right now. The hope is that you win. The tools set you up nice and you win a bunch of money and you're like, oh, well, I would like to keep using these tools. And you do. And you become part of the Stochastic family. And then we hang out forever. All right. But yeah, check it out. Link in the description and in chat. Let's talk about Kansas City and the Texas Rangers here. This one in Texas isn't the same this time of year as it is in like July and August, where it's like Coors Southwest. But
yeah, also a different park that isn't as hitter friendly as
for sure. For sure. Yeah. Man,
and it has a roof.
Man, those August and late July days, it basically was just Coors Southwest.
Yeah, it was like 105 degrees and they're playing outside. Now they just close the roof and it stays pitcher friendly.
Way different. Yeah. But yeah, looking at Kansas City today, looking at actually both guys toeing the rubber, Zach Greinke, Andrew Heaney. We have Heaney as we have him as the second best pitcher on DraftKings, specifically 22% top 2 percentage. So percentage that he's going to be top 2 pitcher on the slate, 27% ownership. So pulling some negative leverage. Sure. He doesn't look quite as good over on FanDuel single pitcher format, but what do you make of him today? We can kick it off there against the Royals.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the epitome of boom or bust. Like the guy's got great strikeout stuff, highest strikeout percentage on this of any pitcher last season, 35.5%. To put that in context, it's 5 points higher than Max Scherzer was last year. Just elite strikeout stuff, but also 1.7 home runs per 9. When he misses his spots, it goes a really long way. But at this price tag, I don't know how you wouldn't be interested in him. You're not paying a premium. You're getting excellent strikeout stuff. Kansas City doesn't have the most power in their lineup either. 3.9 implied run total. Like obviously Bobby Witt, Salvador Perez, Franmil Reyes, these guys can all do damage. They have plenty of power there, but overall not the scariest lineup. And at this price, it's sort of the price is clearly accounting for the fact that he gives up power, and it's not really accounting for the fact that he strikes out everyone who doesn't hit a home run.
Holy shit, dude. He had a 17% swinging strike rate last year.
Yeah, unbelievably good strikeout stuff. Against righties last year, 237 ISO allowed, 36.9% strikeout percentage.
Jeez.
Like you are swinging and missing, or you're hitting the ball 400 feet. There's not much in between.
Yeah, those are kind of like the best types of pitchers. Would you?
Especially when they're cheap.
Yeah, exactly. He only caught, yeah, man, wow, that's amazing. 17%. It's funny too. I remember using called plus swinging strike rate back in the day before any sites had it. Now I'm looking on Fangraphs. They got it added to Fangraphs now. Times have changed for sure. But yeah, those numbers were insane. Well, okay, let me flip this on you then. Given that Andrew Heaney is very popular today, also just a premier strikeout artist, but also someone that will cough up home runs if he's not hitting his spots, would you have any interest in the Royals today as a potential leverage spot? I know it's not exactly the team you're looking to get to when it comes to stacking, 4.1 implied total or implied run total, but I have to ask you anyway. Yeah,
no, I mean, I do have interest. They're a pretty solid like mini stack team too, because you get a very high upside shortstop in Bobby Witt. You get a very high upside catcher in Salvador Perez. You have a cheap Franmil Reyes that you can get to. So like that 3-man gives you a ton of upside. And then, you can 5-man stack a just better offense. If you wanted to 5-man stack the Royals, throw in MJ Melendez, Olivares, Pasquantino, and hope that you get Heaney out of the game early and you get, right-handed arms so that, you don't have Pasquantino or Melendez left on left. But I think it's a viable stack. I like it more as a mini stack, just getting to those really high upside guys at weak positions.
What about on the Kansas City, on the Texas bat side? Do you want to target Zach Greinke today? And by target Zach Greinke, I mean, are you looking to get to these Texas bats?
Yeah, I'm always willing to take bats against Zach Greinke. Just, he still gives you he's still certainly capable of going out there and getting some good starts. He knows how to pitch. He messes with your timing. He's very good in that regard, but just doesn't have good stuff anymore. So very small margin for error for him.
He's almost 40 years old.
Yeah, I would have actually guessed he was older than that. I'm pretty sure he's been pitching since I was in high school.
No. He's been pitching since I was in high school.
So he's been pitching since I was in like middle school.
Yeah. Well, wait, when did you go into high school?
2004.
Okay, so never mind. 2004 was his first year.
Okay, so, yeah. So since I was a freshman, yeah. I was trying to make varsity my first year, and he was already in the major leagues.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Texas does have good hitters. It's a pitcher that doesn't have a lot of margin for error. They are projected to go a little bit over owned right now, 7% ownership, 5% chance of being the top stack, but that's nothing too crazy there. And there are a lot of ways that you can. There's a lot of different guys you can get to here. Clearly, Semi and Seager, Lowe, Garcia are your priorities, but like Mitch Garver, Brad Miller down toward the bottom of the order both have plenty of power. Josh Young has power. One of the top hitting prospects in baseball. So there's a lot to like from Texas.
All right. Just looking at where they stand in our top stack tool right now.
Yeah, I'm kind of not putting too much weight in that because a lot of it doesn't seem to make sense.
I was wondering if it updated actually to see if anything changed. No, it looks like we're still sitting where we were. Anything else from KC or Texas?
No.
All right, let's talk about Coors Field. St. Louis minus 150 on the money line, 11.5 total here. Like I mentioned earlier, St. Louis 6.2 implied run total, 5.5 for the Rockies today. So, I mean, clearly this is going to be a popular game. Even if you're just looking at the top stacks tool, you're looking at the Cardinals 17% top stack probability, very high. Ownership is coming in 20%. Colorado 8.6% top stack, 9.8% ownership. So this is what you're usually going to see in an instance like this. But I think we should just dive into this one. And I'll ask you first out of the gate. I can't imagine you spend a whole lot of time here, but any interest today in the pitchers from either side of this game?
No.
Okay.
Neither one's a great strikeout pitcher. They are both decent real life pitchers, but I don't really see any reason we need to get to them.
So yeah, sometimes if you have a great strikeout pitcher and the opposing team is getting 20% ownership at Coors, you'll take that shot, but this might not be the play. What's the projected lineup look like for the Rockies going up against the lefty today at Coors?
Pretty shitty.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, the top of it, like Profar, Bryant, Blackman, Crone, those guys are all fine. And then it gets bad.
Everyone leaves, but Charlie Blackman doesn't go anywhere.
Right.
That's crazy. This team,
I still Rockies, can't understand how Chris Bryant landed there. Like what?
I know what. Yeah, like they're offloading everybody else. Story's
right, and then they just give him a bunch of money to come over.
Yeah, not Aaron. Do you remember though what this? I mean, only a few years ago, this Rockies team against Steven Matz today would have a 7-run implied total if you had Arenado and Story still in the lineup, and
yeah,
they were nasty. Who was it also batting like 5th or 6th? Was it Reynolds in there for a while?
Reynolds was there briefly. Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, but either way, I mean,
they had LeMahieu for a while.
Yeah. Then he went to the Yankees and just started smacking home runs.
Yeah.
What do you make of the bats for Colorado? Let's actually kick it off here against the Southpaw.
I think it's interesting given the lack of ownership. Like they're getting half the ownership that the Cardinals are, and I understand it. There's a lot of hitters on the Cardinals that you would rather roster than guys on the Rockies, but the Rockies are relatively inexpensive at the bottom of the order. They do have Chris Bryant and CJ Crone, who both look good. Steven Matz, not a great strikeout pitcher, and in Coors Field, that is nice. We always, people think of Coors Field for home runs, but it's also just a massive outfield. And as a result, you have a higher batting average on balls in play. Singles turn into doubles turn into triples because of how big the gaps are and how much ground outfielders need to cover. So I do like the upside that they offer. Matt struck out 25% of righties last year, 30% of lefties. So did actually have good strikeout numbers last year. That's up quite a bit from where he's been at previously in his career. Didn't give up a lot of power. 139 expected ISO, 184 actual ISO to righties, sub 100 expected ISO to lefties. He's also gotten better at holding runners. He's somebody that earlier in his career, even though he's left-handed, you could just steal at will. The last few years, he's been pretty much league average in terms of controlling the running game. But there is plenty of upside just because the game's in Coors Field. You're getting less ownership coming in here. Bryant and Crone would be the guys that I think are priorities, but you can certainly stack the Rockies.
What about the St. Louis side?
They're the highest implied total on the slate. It's clearly a good spot to get to. I do think they're going a little bit over-owned. Marquez is not a bad pitcher, only about a 19 to 19.5% strikeout percentage against either side of the plate last year, but 170 expected ISO to lefties, 164 to righties. Again, the Cardinals are clearly in a good spot. Like they're a good team to stack, ignoring ownership, but they are getting a lot of ownership, and it's not like they're facing it's not Jose Urania today. It is a real major league pitcher.
How bad have his home road splits been for a guy that's pitched in Colorado for a while now? Has he figured anything out?
I can pull it up. I think he's typically been okay in Coors.
For some reason, I thought the same thing, but now I can't remember.
His strikeouts falling off last year was really weird, or the last couple of years was really weird, but that's regardless. Trying to get to home road splits now.
Yeah. I mean, it's not.
So last year, nope, that's this year. Don't care about that. Last year, 392 WOBA at home, 289 on the road. Obviously, not great.
Yeah, that is significant.
2021, 278 WOBA at home, 336 on the road. That is the opposite direction that you expect.
All right, so we've gleaned nothing from this.
Correct.
Okay, fair enough. Anything else from St. Louis?
The safe assumption is that he's going to be worse in Coors Field. Than
of course. I just wasn't sure how much worse because he's been pitching in Coors for a while now.
His whole career.
Yeah, 2016. Been there for a minute. He was also a guy that people thought could be really, really good too.
Yeah, he's kind of he's a good pitcher, but he's disappointed relative to like what I thought he would develop into.
You know who else did too? John Gray.
Yeah, I mean, getting out of Coors was nice for him.
It's good for anybody. What a shitty assignment having to pitch. Like, it's horrible.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder what, like, if you're a pitcher and you get drafted in the first round by the Rockies, it's like, oh, cool, I got drafted in the first round, and oh man, I am screwed.
Yeah. What do you think? Let's just a thought experiment here. Chat, feel free to chime in on this. Like, let's just assume that Clayton Kershaw's entire career was with the Rockies. Like,
he'd be a very good pitcher, but not what he is.
Right. And obviously he'd be elite on the road, but at home, and I know he's gone to Colorado and he's still tossed some gems. Like he plays the Rockies in Colorado plenty of times every year, but it would just be, it would suck to have to pitch there throughout your entire career. You're just basically going out there and it's damage control.
Right. It's just like, no matter how good you are, you're going to be worse in Coors Field.
Yeah.
Like, that's just how it works.
And it's why so often they bring in guys that are just heavy ground ball pitchers.
Yep.
What else are you supposed to do?
Get strikeouts would be nice.
Well, yeah, of course. But but also it's harder to get strikeouts, of course, too.
Right. Yeah. Pitches don't move the same.
Yeah. And it's not even just home runs there. It's super cavernous field. Like, you see.
Right. Yeah. That's it. It boosts offense so much. Like, you think about the thin air and balls flying and all that, but like, it's a massive outfield to try and mitigate that.
Yes.
And so you just have so much ground to cover. It's weird. It's surprising to me. Like, the Rockies should be more creative with pitching. Like, that's a team that should be doing stuff like Tampa Bay does, using openers, like using relievers that throw 100 miles an hour for like an inning at a time, as opposed to just trying to find starters that can pitch in a field where nobody can pitch.
Pretty much. Yeah. It would suck. All right. Anything else for Colorado or St. Louis?
Nope.
Washington and the LA Angels. Here's the most lopsided game right now. Washington Nationals are plus 200 on the road against the Angels. You have not Zach Greinke, sorry. You have Patrick Corbin taking the mound today. And we've seen oftentimes what happens with Patrick Corbin out there. I mean, it's just not good at this point. This season hasn't been all that much better, striking out 13% of the batters he faced last year, 18% K rate. The year prior to that, 19% K rate for Patrick Corbin. It's not particularly good for this guy. And he's also somebody that's no stranger to coughing up the long ball either. Over the last 2 years, he coughed up 64 home runs, Adam. So, I mean, it's not a surprise at all that the Angels are pulling a massive top stack probability, that they have the second highest total on the slate. All of this is pointing in the direction of play the Angels. But the one caveat, they're not cheap at all.
Yeah, and they are popular. They're getting the second most ownership behind St. Louis, but similar implied run total. This park also favorable for hitters. They moved the fence in a few years ago, and that changed it from a pitcher's park to a hitter's park. You have tons of right-handed power here. Anthony Rendon in the projected lineup, so I assume that means that his suspension is over. That gives you another right-handed power bat. But you have Ward, you have Trout, you have Renfroe, Brandon Drury can do damage. Shohei Ohtani hits everybody. It doesn't matter that he's left-handed. Last year against right-handed hitters, only an 18.5% strikeout percentage for Corbin. 235 expected ISO is actually higher than the 206 ISO he allowed, which is already bad.
He got lucky.
Yeah, exactly. Lefties, of course he was better against, but Shohei Ohtani's not your average lefty. So really, really like the Angels here. And while they are the second most popular stack, they're still heavily discounted in terms of ownership compared to St. Louis.
And they're just going to run out essentially an entire righty lineup.
Yeah. And I mean, you can use the bottom of the order too to be different or to, save some money. Like they're clearly not as good, the hitters, as the top of the order, but you have Logan O'Hoppe, who's one of the better catching prospects in baseball. He's 3,500. You have
Brandon Drury in the sixth spot at 3,600 ain't bad either.
Yeah, no, not at all. He's got power. Rengifo and Urshela, not the most exciting guys, but they do have MPE, so you can fit them in multiple roster spots. They're not expensive, but they help balance out the, Taylor Ward, Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani price tags.
Yeah, really, it's just like the top three in this lineup and then Renfroe, but Rendon cleanup is 3,900. So there are certainly some cheap ways to get exposure to this one. Yeah, it's a great team, to stack today. No surprises popping in all the tools.
What about Sean V said Rendon played yesterday? I didn't realize that. So
yeah, he came back yesterday.
Yeah, so he's back.
I only realized that because you had mentioned something to me before the show and I looked it up. What about the Nationals bats today? Any interest against the lefty and Suarez?
Not really. Suarez is a pretty solid pitcher. You don't have a ton of hitters to like in the Nats lineup. If you want to look to a cheap Alex Call, probably leading off. Stone Garrett probably hitting at the top of the order. Joey Meneses is always good. That's fine. You have Lane Thomas is at the top of the order. He gives you some stolen base upside as well, but it's not the most appealing lineup here. Okay.
As far as the pitchers go, any interest in Suarez himself?
A little bit. 6,900 is a reasonable price tag. You're getting 11% ownership there compared to 26% going to Bryce Elder. I think that they are pretty comparable. So if that ownership holds, I wouldn't mind playing a little bit more Suarez.
Okay. And I assume not too interested in Patrick Corbin today, so we can keep this one moving. Yeah, there's just no way, dude. He's so bad. His home run his home runs per nine over the last two seasons is like 1.75. It's an insane 1.75 home runs per nine
for Corbin.
Yeah.
Over
the last 2 years. I'm just taking the 2 years.
Yeah, going back to the start of 2021, 234 ISO to righties, 233 expected ISO to righties.
It doesn't get much worse than that. How is he still starting games? Because they just don't care.
They gave him a lot of money and they're trying to get something out of it.
Well, they're getting something out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the Nats are a dumpster fire.
A lot of souvenirs.
This team had so many young stars and managed to let them all slip away, except for Steven Strasburg, who can no longer pitch.
It's not good.
And they're all on the Phillies now.
Yeah, Harper, Turner. They lost.
Yeah, they stayed in the NL East. Like you have Harper and Turner on the Phillies, you have Scherzer on the Mets.
Don't worry, dude. The Phillies will find a way to squander it. I have no doubt whatsoever. Yeah. They will.
They do suck.
Anything else for this game?
No.
Milwaukee and Arizona. Oh, before we do, Bet 365, baby. MLB just started up. You're getting into some MLB betting. You're looking to get some free money along the way. If you're in Colorado, Virginia, New Jersey, or Ohio, one of those 4 states, Colorado, New Jersey, Virginia, or Ohio, Bet 365 is available to you. And it's a situation where you don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth. You take advantage of something as good as this and as bad as that picture of Ben. If you deposit $10 using the link in the description or the one in chat, you don't have to use that $10 to get $200 in bonus bets. You bet one single dollar of that $10 on whatever you want. You don't need to win. You don't need to lose. All you need to do is place $1 bet on whatever you want. And when that bet settles, you have $200 in bonus bets. Legitimately the easiest no-brainer you're going to find. No reason if you're in those states not to be like, all right, screw it. I don't even bet a whole lot, but I like free money. Someone walks up to you anywhere else and is like, give me $1 and you can have 200. You'd say, okay, yes, please. And then you could lose that $200 on the street somewhere. You'd be a little upset, but at the end of the day, you're still only down $1, which is how you got it. You could lose all of this betting it, and you could be down $1. You're not losing sleep over that. Or you could be like Gingerhammer, who tweeted us last week and was like, hey guys, thanks for the promo. In 1 week, I managed to turn this $1 promo into $1,447. So yeah, many ways to play this. Run it up to 4 or 5 figures. Have a strong bankroll throughout MLB, heading into NFL, throughout MLB and NBA playoffs. And if you lose it and you go on the worst run of your life, your downside is a single buck. So link in the description and in chat. Colorado, New Jersey, Virginia, Ohio, those 4 states. Soon it'll be in PA, soon it'll be in Iowa. Looking forward to that. But for now, if you're there in those 4 states, no reason not to jump on this one. All right. Milwaukee and Arizona. Let's keep this one moving here. You got the Milwaukee Brewers. Wade Miley, our friend Dan Strafford's favorite pitcher. the Made Wiley days, as he calls him. Zach Gallen, 8.5 run total here. Milwaukee plus 125 on the road. First question, are you looking to get to Miley or Gallen today?
Gallen's interesting just from a talent standpoint. Really, talented pitcher. Pulling 28% ownership, probably a little bit higher than it should be, but at only 7,100, he's another pretty cheap option. And again, just a very good pitcher. 26.9% strikeout percentage last year, 0.73 home runs per 9, 3.31 xFIP, 3.32 Sierra. Just don't really know why he's as inexpensive as he is, but it makes him pretty appealing.
Talking about Zion, huh? This is why
Jonathan Isaac expected to be ready for the start of the 2023-24 season.
Oh, good. Good.
He probably will get injured over the summer, but as of right now, expected to be ready.
Baldy in the oath. So hopefully Zion's back by next All-Star break. Yeah, I made a bet with Josh that he would, and this isn't to say I've won the bet, obviously, but I said he'd never be an All-NBA first team player because of this.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically if he's healthy, he is. If he's never healthy, he's
never
not.
Been.
Right, right.
Yeah, I made this is a while ago. If he's healthy, then I'm in trouble for sure.
Right, like he's a star.
Yeah, yeah. It's tough to make that first team though, too. Even so, like there's some damn good players out there.
Especially now, you have to play 65 games.
Is that what it is? Is that the requirement?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Jonathan Isaac. It's a shame, man.
Yeah, also a good player. Not Zion level good, but good.
But yeah, definitely not bad. Do you like bats from either side of this one?
Not particularly.
Arizona, Milwaukee.
Yeah, not particularly. Gallen again, really good pitcher, doesn't give up a lot of power. The Arizona side's more appealing going up against Miley. Typically does a decent job keeping the ball on the ground when he's right, but again, just small margin for error for him. Doesn't throw hard, doesn't have great stuff. Did hold righties to a 142 expected ISO last year. Lefties basically no power at all in a limited sample. The Diamondbacks lineup is kind of interesting. Kettle Marte, Lewis, if he's in the lineup. I thought he went on the injured list yesterday, but I see him in a projected lineup, so maybe not. But Gurriel, Walker, like these guys have power. Corbin Carroll's left-handed, but he gives you speed as well. Marte in particular, I think looks good.
All right. let's wrap this one up. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. And I'm still getting my legs back underneath me for some MLB. We're getting there.
Yeah, Kyle Lewis is on the injured list, so ignore that. But
Okay.
Marte, Gurriel, Walker all look pretty good.
Dodgers, San Francisco, -140 Dodgers on the road, 7.5 total. Not exactly the most appealing venue for opposing hitters either. 7.5 run total. I guess just looking at this one, and I wanted to pull up our tools as well to see if it's in line with just what I'm thinking out of the game. Yeah, okay. This is what I kind of figured to see. Both of these pitchers look good in the top stack tool. It's a great venue. Both teams don't look great from a top stack percentage. San Francisco looking a little bit better, but marginally so. How do you want to play the arms today for this one?
Kind of not too interested in them. You do have two good pitchers in Webb and Urias, but it's two good offenses too. And there's plenty of pitching on the slate that's just in better spots. So if you get to them a little bit, Webb pulling 14%, Urias pulling 17%, they're fine. Webb's pretty cheap at 7,400. Urias is 9,400. So the third most expensive pitcher on DraftKings, but not ideal matchups. Just kind of, I think, pulling the ownership that they deserve.
Okay. Yeah, it's clearly not a great matchup for Webb, or really for Urias either. But I don't want to say this game feels like a wash, but it's like two good pitchers in two bad matchups. So you know what I mean? Neither side, whether hitters or pitchers, stands out because both of them are going to be in pretty difficult spots today.
Yeah, it's a case where, the Dodgers are projected for 2% aggregate ownership, 4% chance of being the top stack. They're just such a talented lineup that even against good pitchers, when they're low owned, they are kind of appealing in tournaments. But clearly, that they're facing a very good pitcher in Logan Webb, not a great park to hit in either. So it's a low probability play, but you do just get a really high ceiling because there is so much power in the lineup. Only a 110 expected ISO to righties for Webb last year, 122 to lefties. You really are kind of hoping that they just kind of run good on balls in play against Webb, then you get to the bullpen and take your chances there. But they just have so much talent in that lineup that they're always going to be appealing in tournaments. Similar for the Rockies or the Giants, not the Rockies. Not the same level of offense as the Dodgers, but you do still have some power there. JD Davis in particular, Estrada, Flores, those guys are both fine. But I'm much more interested in taking chances on the Dodgers than I am the Giants. All
right, favorite. Let's wrap it up with this. If you had to pick one stack right now that wasn't, and it's still early, like we don't have lineups, but it's a little bit easier to kind of do this than it is with basketball, not from a stacking perspective, but from a, giving opinions earlier in the day. Favorite non-Coors, non-Angels stack right now?
Seattle.
Okay. And favorite pitcher, if you had to go down. What's that?
Seattle or Texas.
Okay. Favorite non-Scherzer, Heaney, Castillo pitcher? I guess I could throw Darvish in there. Any cheap options that you think could be viable today, especially if you're trying to pay for Coors Field and Angels?
Gallen.
That Gallen? Okay. All right. Yeah, and he's popular.
Yeah. Deservedly so. From a tournament standpoint, Suarez, but like if you need a lower owned guy, Suarez in that price range. But I really like Gallen.
Okay, not Corbin.
Not Corbin.
All right. Hey, appreciate you guys hanging out. We got the deeper dive coming up later today. Live. Are you on either of those tonight? Are you doing the deeper dive?
I don't know. Probably.
Good luck trying to find it. All right. Well, we'll have the deeper dive. We'll have live before.
I think I'm on the deeper dive.
You are?
I think.
Okay. You, Adam and Josh. Shout out to Jordan for producing this one. Remember, last day for 9 days for $9, $1 a day, all of our MLB stuff. And of course, if you're in those 4 states I mentioned earlier, looking to get in on that BetMGM $200 in bonus bets action. Oh, I almost forgot. Must be 21 years or older to gamble. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Looking to get in on that $200 in bonus bets for betting $1. You guys are the best. Follow Adam at Ship My Money DFS, me at Lafayette_D. We'll see you back here for the next one. Oh, and basketball coming back tomorrow. So don't go anywhere. Stay tuned right here on the Stochastic YouTube channel. Peace.